we're about to be. All right, let's see if this shit is working. Pull that shit up on your phone real quick. I want to make sure it's working. Like, try to watch it. Or actually, I could too. Yeah.
You already got the one bracket up? That's the 165?
Oh, no, I got the 220 up.
Yeah, leave it. No.
Oh, here we go. Maybe I misnamed them. That's what it was. Should be good now. Oh, it's a little behind.
Delay.
It's a little behind, yeah. All right, so it looks like it's working though, right? Oh, yeah. All right. You ready?
Yeah. Start with the 220.
I don't think you can see you in that camera, but I'm not sure. There you go. All right, man. All right, so we're gonna do a little bracket review here. We're gonna start from the 220. We're just gonna go down the order, starting with, or you wanna go up the order better? Like worst seed to best seed? Whatever. All right, go.
All right, so number one seed in this one, Daiichi. Well, this is the heavyweight. Let's start with that. I know it says 165.
220.
I think it says 165
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
though.
yeah.
So that's mislabeled, but yeah, these are the big boys. So Daiichi Goto is a beast of a wrestler. He actually just had a match with Bodoni, I want to say last week or the week before. Actually, no, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, where I think he only lost by 2, and it was a pretty back and forth match the majority of the time, with the exception of the end. That's when Bodoni scored. So this dude's a beast. He also had a match with my brother in 2020 where he lost, I think, by a takedown or a ref's decision. It was very back and forth. So the dude is certified. So he's the first seed. We put Andres, and then just full disclosure, we only seeded the first few guys, and then we randomized the other 2. And I'll explain this too the day of the tournament. So if you are like the last seed, or if you are the second to last or third to last, you're not actually, in anybody's opinion, the worst person. That's just randomized past like the top 4. And we also had to make some adjustments. We have a bracket where 2 brothers are in, so we put them at different sides of the bracket. We had to move the seating in that one because of that. So just because you're last seed on the bracket doesn't mean that you're actually, in anybody's opinion, the worst person there. It's just random. Also, teammates, we put them on different sides of the bracket. If you and your teammate are on the same side, let us know, but we shouldn't have that issue. All right, so number 2, Andres, he's a good wrestler, and he actually competed last year. He beat a few people that are also in the bracket, so we had to seed him above a couple of the people on there. First criteria for seed is head-to-head. So Andres is number 2. Oh, shit, there goes.
Oh shit, yeah. We're watching the event that's going on in the background. That's why Sergio just pointed out.
All right, so, and then Daniel Hunt and Calium Kalista, 3 and 4. These are 2 black belts that compete pretty regularly. Moose is a brown belt. We put him at 5, and then after that, like I said, it was randomized. So
I think by belt though, right? So you did like, if there were blue belts, you kind of just...
Yeah, there's an order with the belts. So if we don't know who you were, or we don't know the competition all that well, and you're past the top seeds, we did do it by belt. So we try to keep the higher belts in a higher seed, and so on and so forth. But like I said, subject to the adjustments that we made.
I think one match that, I mean, this division is interesting, but you got like a good MMA fighter in there at 6 with Reese, and Kenneth is an ATT guy.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So that's a pretty good match, especially if they can then fight Daniel. Like,
actually,
that'll be
I don't
exciting.
know who Kenneth is. Michael Maxwell is an ATT Lima guy.
Okay.
We just met him today.
And then Musa, and you know who Calum is?
Yeah, Calium Kalista. He's a black belt.
Oh shit. Okay.
He trains in Dominican Republic, and he flies back and forth between Dominican Republic.
I remember this guy. Yeah.
And I met his son.
Okay. And Musa's got the best hair in jiu-jitsu, so that'll be good. So yeah, that's the 220 bracket. I think it's our smallest bracket,
That's the smallest bracket. Yeah.
and it's got what 11 people or something like that. 11. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
11. All right, so that's 220. Although it says 165. Let's go to, you want to do 185 or 165?
185. All right, it's 165. So can lick.
All right, so 185. Starting out with Daniel, that's last year's winner. If you notice, the winners of last year, if they're returning to the division, which I think every division but 220 has a returning winner, they get a bye into the semi. So you'll see that Daniel has 2 byes. So essentially, he has to win 2 matches. I think the point being, like, we want to be continuity through the events, so that the returning champs get like a good seed.
Yeah, essentially, if you win the bracket, this is different from a lot of other tournaments that whenever you have like a Grand Prix, which is what this is, they either will make the champ not have to do it again and not just take away like the opportunity to compete, but if there are cash prizes, the opportunity to get that. That's one of the reasons why, for example, Gordon wanted to do both the super fight and the bracket. I'm not sure if he just wanted to compete or wanted to get paid, but whenever you don't let the champ do it over again, then you're kind of taking that opportunity away from them. So what we do in here is we're still letting the champs go through the bracket, but they do get an advantage since they've already gone through the bracket and won. So put straight into the semifinals. So when you see the buys, we kind of had to work that out depending on how many people were there. They had different number of buys so that we could work so that the champ could get straight to the semifinals.
All right. And then I think the next person here is Nicholas Creighton. I don't know him. Do you know his background?
I don't know his background, but I do know that he's beaten several people on the bracket. So when I found that out, even though I didn't know who he was, I had to seed him higher than some of the other people that I know are on the bracket that he's already beaten. And then I also found out that he beat another guy who's not on the bracket, but he's been kind of killing it kind of in the local cash prize tournaments. And I found out that this Nicholas Creighton guy like tore up his knee. So once I found that out, then I moved him. I think initially I had him like, I think he was one of the people that were randomly seated. But then when I found that out, then I had to move him all the way up.
This division's pretty stacked. I mean, you've got Kevin as the 3rd seed. He just got his brown belt, active competitor. 4th seed, Muhammad, brown belt, active competitor, has his own school. 5th seed is a black belt. Charlie, he trains at ATT. So, I mean, pretty much up and down, you've got you've got a black belt who's 11th seed in the division, right? Devin's a black belt, I believe. Or a brown belt?
Devin is brown, I think.
Okay, so, I mean, you've got, like, all the way through pretty much. People are tough. Campbell, he's blue belt?
I think Campbell's blue.
But he's tough, man. He's tough. He's got good heel hooks, and Harris just got that dog in him, too, so...
Yeah, it's a tough bracket because Harris is all the way down in number 10, and he was a good wrestler. He's tough. He's young. He's explosive. So, yeah, there are a lot of tough matches. One thing that I'll say about this bracket, too, is that we have one forfeit in the bracket. This Felice Nunes guy, I think he was injured, so he has to get out of the bracket. And because we already had the bracket set up, we didn't want to... If we took somebody else out, then it would re-bracket the whole thing. So Kevin gets a forfeit. Unless if somebody hits us up maybe the next day or two and they're good, we might put him in the bracket. But as of now, Kevin has a forfeit in his first match. And he also got 2nd last year, losing only to Daniel Smith. So if it weren't for kind of like the wild card Nicholas Creighton come in, Kevin would have been the 2nd seed. So yeah, he gets a forfeit.
But yeah, that's it. That's 185. I mean, I think to win, if you don't have a bye, it's 4 matches, and then if you're Daniel, it's 2, Nicholas 3. Everybody else would have to win 4. But yeah, it should be fireworks. 185 is going to be exciting.
Oh, and then we have this kid, Tyson Beatty. I think I'm saying he's a kid because I think he's younger than 18. Last year we had this kid named Andrew DeGraff. We're watching him compete now at Midwest Finishers, and that kid was pretty good back then. I think he lost his first match, but he was a beast, and since then he's gone off and been killing it. And I've heard really good things about Tyson Beatty. So even though he's only a blue belt, Muhammad, who's a brown belt, he's pretty good. I think that's going to be a tough match. But I mean, we'll see. That's the cool thing about this. I mean, that's what I think just based on looking at these guys on paper, but might be a whole different story once they actually compete.
Yeah, so I'm gonna zoom in on the bracket real quick in case somebody
take
didn't get to
screenshots.
see. Yeah, if you want to take a screenshot, and we'll post it after. But that's the first half of the bracket there, and then going down to the bottom, that's the second half. So again, if you want to replace Felix Nunez, you're gonna get the last seed, but it's a good opportunity to compete. All right. Now the 165. This says 220, but don't pay attention to that. Can you see it? Or can you hear it?
Yep.
Okay. Ready for this one?
All right, so 165 is.
This is only half the bracket, by the way.
This is the most competitive bracket, and in my opinion, again, on paper, it has the most talented guys. This one, I think we seeded maybe to like 5 or 6 because there were more guys, and I've trained with a lot of guys here. I've competed against some of them, so I can attest that everybody in this bracket is tough. So Jalon is only a blue belt. So then on paper, you would think that he shouldn't be seated this high, but he won the tournament last year, beating a lot of purple belts. And I want to say they were, I don't know if he personally beat brown and black belts, but they were in the bracket.
Division, yeah.
And he did really well under this rule set. Really hard to score on him. Super athletic, super explosive. He's a really good MMA fighter. He's just kind of starting out because I think he's like 21 or 22. So just following the rules. He won the bracket last year, so he gets by straight to the semifinals. And then you got, just going down the bracket, you got Jeff Cummings, who's a black belt, competes a lot. IBJJF, Pan Champ, I can't remember what belt, but he's won stuff at gi and no gi. And I want to say he's a little small for the 174 IBJJF weight class, so I think this 165 is...
He's like big for 165, right?
Yeah. I think he's like perfect for him.
Yeah.
And you got Matt Cassiano. He's a tough wrestler. I think he's either a blue belt or purple belt from ATT. Coming down, you got Joey and Rob.
They've got a little pigtail. I think Rob is Odyssey?
No, Rob trains at Superfly.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. Okay, you're right.
So Rob's tough, and Joey's also tough. He wrestled in high school. So you got that pigtail. The winner of that will go against Felipe. Felipe is a really tough black belt, crafty.
Probably the smallest guy in the division, right?
No, there's somebody else.
There is?
Yeah.
But he's up there. Like, he's tough. He's a really good black belt, but he's
a little small for the weight class.
Yeah, his weight class is probably like 150 or something, I think, right? Or 160 or 155.
Yeah, because I think he's also an MMA fighter, and he would fight at 135.
Yeah. Then the third seed is Gio. He's an ATT guy. He's a black belt, active competitor. He competes all the time, gi and no gi, really good. Weight class is probably perfect for him, honestly. Like 170 is maybe too big, 155 maybe a little small. So he's big. He'll be tough. So yeah, Gio's good. And then you got Vance versus Dorian as the pigtail into them. What do you know about Vance?
So Vance is Calium Calista's son. So Calium's one of the guys that's in the 220, one of the guys that lives and trains out of Dominican Republic. And I think they also have a gym in South Georgia. And Vance, I want to say, is his youngest son. So I think Vance might actually be the smallest person in the bracket. He's a purple belt. And I checked out his Instagram. He seemed pretty tough, but I think he does weigh like 140 if I remember correctly. And then Dorian, you know him.
Yeah, so Dorian's actually my like childhood best friend. He's been training for like 2 or 3 years. Tough blue belt, competes. He's like does well in the no-gi scene in Miami. So that'll be a really good match. Vance has a wrestling background, you said? No. Okay. So I mean, Dorian's got a little bit of wrestling background. So I think honestly, the winner of that match, I think will probably give Gio a good run for it, especially in the rule set. And then moving down, Nick Saf. I know about Hashir, so I'll start with Hashir. Hashir is a 10th Planet Lombard purple belt. He's actually the ref of Midwest Finishers. It's playing on Flow Grappling right now.
So we can see Hashir right now.
Yeah, that's right. He's tough. We rolled him. He's like really knows how to play the rules. He has like good buggy chokes, and he played it like perfectly last year to avoid getting his guard past the bunch. So really savvy competitor, and I think he's been competing more. So I know that he's pretty good. I mean, 6th seed is high for this stacked division. And then I don't know about Nick, but
so Nick Saf is from He's not from Georgia, but he's like from one of the southern states.
Okay.
And I want to say he competed at PGF. I just looked at his Instagram. I saw what he was about, and he looked really tough and has kind of interesting techniques that I think are going to give a lot of people problems. And again, Nick Saff, he wasn't one of the seeded guys, so this was just randomized. Because if I had to seed all the way through, he'd probably be seeded a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's just like they're all, I think, blue belts, right? Like Dorian's a blue belt, Nick's a blue belt.
No, Nick's a purple belt.
Oh, okay. So then Nick would have been seated amongst the purple belts, right?
Yeah, and also
There's like 5 purple belts in this division, I think. Like a high number. Because I know Hashir's a purple belt, Nick's a purple belt, Alex is a purple belt, Sam was a purple belt.
there are like 4 or 5 black belts.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like high belts. All right, moving down. Alex Cotto, he's a purple belt. He wrestles at Life University, good wrestler. I trained with him when he was a kid, actually. He's one of the purple belts. I think you just seeded them kind of randomly. I think maybe Hashir got the best purple belt seed. Alex is really good. I mean, if it comes down to wrestling, I would probably put him amongst probably the best or among the best guys in the division when it comes to wrestling. Honestly, I wouldn't know who's a better wrestler. So if it goes down to the wrestling, he'll be really tough. And then Sammer is an ATT slash... Where does he train? He trains at...
No, he's a SBG.
An SBG guy, okay.
He just comes and trains with us a lot.
Yeah.
He's from a different...
And I think Sergio's helped him out a lot with his game, so he's for sure going to be terrible. No, I mean, he's going to be tough. Sammer's got... I think his game is mostly heel hooks these days, right? Not a super big wrestler.
He's pretty slick on the bottom 50% of the body.
Yeah.
He definitely doesn't ignore the bottom 50% of the body.
Yeah, so I mean that's going to be an exciting match. It's like a contrasting of styles, wrestler versus more like bottom leg lock player. All right, you want to talk about Anthony because I don't know.
Anthony might be the best wrestler in all the divisions.
Oh, shit. All right,
straight up. He was D1 for a couple years. I mean, I've seen him wrestle a lot. I've wrestled with him. He might. Oh, actually, we haven't flat out announced the price for. Oh shit, he won the whole thing.
That's crazy, yeah.
We haven't announced the price for best takedown and best submission.
Let's do it at the end. All the prizes and all the rules and all the shit.
All right, so yeah, Anthony is a really good wrestler. He's a blue belt, super scrambly, hard to get any position on him, hard to settle your weight on him. He's always moving, and yeah. Oh, he's an MMA fighter.
And then Brady is an Odyssey guy. He's tough. All those Odyssey guys are pretty tough. And he probably has the best picture submitted for the tournament so far. You guys will see it when the poster comes out.
Which we'll post this week, yeah.
Yeah. And then the second seed of the bracket. So you remember that Jalon is the first seed. The second seed of the bracket is Max Hansen. He's a black belt, active competitor. He's super tough. He's won like a lot of the, I'd say like regional shows like Midwest Finishers and whatever the other one they have in New Jersey is. So honestly, if Jalon hadn't won last year, Max would have been the first seed. So yeah, I mean, just a good competitor. Sergio, I don't know if you want to add anything.
He just beat this guy named Derek Rayfield in like a minute. He subs a lot. He goes for submissions nonstop. He has a good gas tank. He's really strong. Has really strong grips. And yeah, he would have been seeded number 1 had it not been for Jalon winning the bracket last year.
What is interesting though is I've only ever seen him in like EBI rule sets. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen him in ADCC rule sets. So it'll be interesting to see, right? Because I've only ever seen him like no points rule sets. So maybe it'll be different ADCC where he has to battle for takedowns and the overtime's a little different. So it, you know, I think the key being like anybody could give anybody a tough match in the ADCC rule set.
I think I've seen Max compete against bigger people too, and he does pretty well.
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, he's not small for 165.
Yeah, but I guess he makes 55 somehow. I don't know how, but
he's one of those weight benders, I think. All right, let me zoom out if you guys want to take screenshots, but we'll post the entire bracket. I mean, it's going to be pretty small, but biggest division by far. I think you've got 20 people. No, that can't be right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you have 16 people in the bracket. So a full 16-man bracket. And the reason you have pigtails and buys is because Jalon, because he's the winner last year, goes into the semifinals. So potentially the winner of that Jeff Cummings, Felipe kind of quartet will be the one facing Jalon in the semifinals to advance into the finals. So whoever comes out of there, My guess it'll be either Jeff or Felipe, but anything can happen. We'll have Jalen in the semis, and then whoever comes out of the other side. All right, that's all 4 brackets.
Something I want to say real quick is on the initial poster on my Instagram, we put Superfly as the location. That's where we plan on doing it first. But then we've had a ton of people sign up, not just to compete, but to come watch. So we had to change the location. So I don't want to take out the post because if somebody pulls up let's say somebody looks at it and they hadn't seen it in a couple of weeks, still has a lot of good information. But the location is American Top Team Atlanta, and that is on Faulkner Road in Buckhead. So just be mindful of that. Everything else that we've posted recently has the right address, but if you look at the old post, it does still have the Superfly address. So it is not at Superfly, it is at American Top Team Atlanta. The seminar is at Superfly. Nicky Rod seminar, that's on Sunday.
And then we've got 2 super fights. Probably the second biggest name in jiu-jitsu, Nicky Rod, is fighting Philip Rowe. Philip Rowe is a UFC fighter. He fought Gordon on Who's Number One. We've trained with him before. I think he's officially a black belt now, right? Yeah. He's super athletic. He's strong. I think in the UFC fights at 170. Is that right?
He's at welterweight.
Which means he's big as shit because UFC welterweights are huge. I think if you look at it on paper, some people might say like that's kind of a mismatch, but Philip Rowe is tough, especially in that ADCC rule set where you can wrestle and it's hard to score. I think it'll be a fun match, and I'm sure Philip will bring it. And then on the undercard, I'm actually fighting Nicky Rod's brother, J-Rod. That's a good match. He won West Coast Trials, all submissions, and he's just good. He took Bodoni to like a war, so that'll be exciting.
I'm just looking at the comments now on my phone.
Is Baby Goose going crazy?
They said, put some respect on my boy.
What did he say?
He said, put some respect on my boy Dorian.
Who was Ivy League BJJ? Hold on, let's see. Oh, that was David. 14 is too low for my guy, but he's going to put in work. I believe it. You can take it up with Sergio. I felt like it was unfair for me to rank him, so Sergio did the brackets. Did y'all do 220 already? How long ago was this? We can go back to 220 if you want real quick.
And then, in case you missed it the first time, I only seeded the first 4 to 6 people. So if you are seated last, it does not mean that I seated you the...
Nah, fuck that. Sergio thinks you're ass.
It does not mean that I was violating. It was just everything past 4 or 6, depending on which bracket, was randomized. And then after it was randomized, I adjusted for things like if you are from the same team, then I put you on different seeds. So for example, let's say you should have been seed number 8 and 9, but you're from the same team, so you would go against each other. So then what I would have done in that situation is I would have made somebody seed number 7, which would be the first unseeded, and then I would have made the other one seed 13 or 14. So somebody who might have been seeded 8 might end up being seeded 14, just so that you don't see your teammates until the very end. We have a bracket with 2 brothers, so I put them on separate ends.
And then I think the other thing worth mentioning is the rule set for the tournament is the same as last year. So it's ADCC trials rules, meaning all the matches except the finals are 6 minutes, 3 minutes no points, 3 minutes points. The only modification to the ADCC rule set is there's no slamming, period. You can't slam out of submissions. That doesn't mean you can't take people down and kind of finish the takedown, but you can't slam them in a triangle or whatever, just to keep people safe. And then the finals of the division, are they going to be 8 minutes?
Yes.
All right. So the finals of all the divisions will be same thing as in terms of rule set, except it's 8 minutes. So 4 and 4. The difference in the finals is if you pull, you get a negative. That's for all ADCC finals. Whereas in the other matches, if you pull, there's no negative in the first 3 minutes. In the finals, it has to be a takedown or it's an automatic negative. So keep that in mind if you're planning on making the finals.
We might have... So I don't know if this has been confirmed yet, but we're trying to get an official ADCC ref to come and ref it. And if he is able to come, he's going to do a free seminar on Friday on the ADCC rules. So if you want to refresh your ADCC knowledge, or just if you plan on competing at the trials or the opens or ADCC, try to be there. I'm going to be there myself just to make sure that I have a good understanding of the rules for my own competitions, and if I end up having to ref one of these matches here.
Yeah, and I think the ADCC YouTube page has like a full hour long seminar on the rules. Watch it, because the day before or the day of, whenever they do the rules meeting, we're not going to go over like every single piece of rule set. You know what I mean? Like last year, I think we answered questions, but it's just going to be like, you have to know the rules. And the rules are not complicated, but they're specific. So if you don't know them and then you feel like you got played, it's probably because you just didn't know the rules. And then I don't know who the rest will be yet.
Although there was this fucking ref who played me at the trial, so
yeah,
we'll make sure that we have a better understanding of the rules and that we actually kind of follow it with consistency.
Yeah, and the other thing that's worth mentioning about the rule set, if you've never done an ADCC rule set, is the referee on the mat doesn't give the points; it's the people at the table. So there should be at least 3 people who are deciding on points. The ref's job is just to point out when like hooks are in or like top bottom change or whatever. So it should never be one person deciding if you get points or not. And I think last year we had kind of like a decent crew, but maybe this year we even have an official ADCC ref to ref the match or the matches. So that's good.
Something that I don't know if we'll be able to do it this year, but I kind of wanted to do it eventually, that I think was cool from US Grappling, is that you get to challenge a call on the mat, and if the challenge is wrong, there's a penalty for it. So that means that not everybody's going to be challenging crazy, but everybody has phones nowadays. We're going to have a stream, and people do make mistakes, and I always thought it was kind of messed up on a really close match to just let one ref's mistake cost somebody a match. So I can't promise that we're going to do it in this tournament, but maybe next year we'll institute the challenge rule. And if you're not familiar with it, you can look at International Wrestling. They have it. So if, let's say, a ref calls a 2 for a takedown and you don't think it was 2 because it wasn't the 3 seconds. Well, luckily, if it's being filmed, you can actually see how long it went by. So you can, in wrestling, you have something you throw in there, like a little cube. That means that you're challenging. If everybody reviewing it decides that the ref was right, the person challenging it gets a penalty. Either you start in a bad position or points. We'd have to figure that out. But if the person's right, then the ref's call will be overturned on the spot. And I think that's just a way fairer system, especially when you have a match like that's been back and forth and one person might win or lose based on one takedown or anything really.
So I'm scrolling through the brackets here. I mean, I think that's pretty much it on the rules. The other thing is like ADCC values initiation over everything. So if you've never competed in ADCC and it comes down to a ref decision, it's going to be who was pushing the pace. So even if you were countering, if he was always trying to like start the moves, they're probably going to get the decision. Did we say overtime? Overtime is you start on the feet, 3 minutes or 4 minutes in the finals, everything scores. That's pretty much overtime.
And we also got one more super fight, man. Ernesto and J-Rod. We hadn't talked about it. So J-Rod has a lot of hype behind him now. He trains at B Team, which arguably could be the second best team out in jiu-jitsu right now. And they definitely got a lot of clout. They got a good YouTube channel. So this is going to be a good W for him. Really a good W for all of us. So that is the co-main event. We haven't decided what time we're actually going to do it. But try to come early. The brackets are going to be cool. Most of the people train in Atlanta or around Atlanta. So these are actually like all of our friends, all of your friends. And stick around for the co-main. Jiu-jitsu wise, we're going to keep it real. There's going to be better jiu-jitsu in the co-main event probably than in the main event. Most likely. You know, Phil's a real cool guy, but again, this is all on paper. I mean, it could turn out to be that they have a crazy back and forth match, but on paper, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Nicky Rod's a 2-time silver medalist in ADCC. Like he's got accolades,
and he's pushing 240. And Phil is maybe
210.
210 maybe. Yeah.
So there's a gap for sure. And those matches will both be 10 minutes ADCC rules. So a potential of 15 minutes if it goes into overtime. So a little bit longer.
Jay's match was 10 minutes by choice.
That's
just
right.
So you know, man. This man, there was something, man. There's a lot of back and forth on the rules, and Ernesto accommodated every request because he tried to say, let's do it this way. No. Okay, let's do it that way. No. Eventually, you know what, man? How do you want to do it?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do it that way.
So we're actually, I don't even think, Sergio's point, we're doing 10 minutes because that's the request. And then I don't even care to. I don't think we're even doing a weigh-in. Like I know he walks around 190. I'm like 185. So if he wants to weigh in, I'm happy to weigh in. I know I'm lighter than him, but it's just kind of like we just want to compete, you know. So it's exciting. And then you want to talk about the prizes real quick?
Yeah. So it's $2,500 in total per bracket, or $2,600 actually, and $2,000 is going to go to the number one person. $400 is going to go to the number two person. $200 to the number three person. So if you're going to make it to the semifinals, then you're going to be a medalist, and then you'll have one more match, even if you lose your semifinals match. Yeah,
so third place is for at least $200, so it'll matter. And then across everything, even if you can't place, you have a chance to make potentially potentially $1,000 because you could best takedown is $500 and then best submission is $500. So in theory, you can go win both of those and lose your next match, and you still made $1,000. So, I mean, I think last year, who won best submission? The heel hook?
The kid.
The Graf did, right? Yeah, so last year was a heel hook, and then the best takedown was actually in the finals. Daniel's winning takedown over Kevin.
Wasn't even a takedown, but
yeah, it was just a really good attempt to win the match.
So pretty much, if you got crazy takedowns, this is yours for the taking. Last year, there really weren't all that many like really nice takedowns, so you can make a quick 500 if you got crazy throws, if that's your thing. Lateral drops, body locks, suplexes, that money's up there. Now, last thing is, when are weigh-ins? Weigh-ins are at 3 p.m. at ATT. 3 p.m. at ATT. I'll probably do the weigh-ins myself. I'll bring the scale, and I will have a waiver for you. So pull up, weigh in, sign the waiver, and then you're good to go till 4:30.
Yo, and be professional, man. Last year we had some unnamed folks who didn't make weight, and then we had to like ask people in the bracket if they wanted to compete. So just make weight, man. I mean, just make weight. Like, come in on weight. I think the weight classes are fair in the sense of like, you know what they are, and just like, if you're not going to be on weight, tell us ahead of time or something, because it's annoying if you're 10 pounds off the day of. So yeah, I mean, just be professional. And I think the last thing is we'll send an email out with waiver. What else do we need? That's it, right?
No, I'll do waiver in person.
Okay, waiver in person. So that's it. Just pull up ATT 3 p.m. next Saturday if you're competing. And if your mom or your sister or whoever's coming, tell them the event starts at
4:30.
4:30. ATT.
That's it.
All right. I think we're going to stop it. We'll post these brackets on probably Sergio's page or LHM's page or something, so y'all can look through them. All right.